everyone. Welcome to Guiding Light. I'm Jenna Carson,
I'm Sierra Larson.
and we're so excited today to talk about dating. And we're thinking specifically dating after divorce. I think, though, that this would apply to everyone, even if you're not dating after a divorce. But because it's my experience, I'll share a lot about what I have learned about dating after divorce, dating in my 30s. So I want to tell you what I've learned. So I want to walk you through some of the books I've read and just share with you. First of all, dating is, I don't want to say this because I should be like, oh, dating is easy, like manifesting the ease of dating. But in my experience, dating has not been easy. And honestly, it's sort of like a, a habit or a discipline that you choose to engage in. Like there is a lot of agency to choose to date. And so I talked in the last episode about how in my mid 30s now, I still want biological children, and because I'm aware that the window of time for that to happen is getting smaller, I have started becoming very intentional about dating. And one of the books that I read along this journey, I hate the title, and Sierra, I think you'll hate this too, but it's called Marry Him: The Case for Settling for Mr. Good Enough. Sierra's rolling her eyes. I'm rolling my eyes too. It's a terrible title. It's by Lori Gottlieb. She hated the title too, by the way. The publisher wanted to name it this. Her argument is not that you should settle. It is not that you should settle. And she clarifies this in podcasts with Evan Mark Katz, who's a relationship expert. She says the message was never to settle. The message has always been to stop thinking you're going to find a perfect knight in shining armor and to be active in your dating life and not just think that this knight in shining armor is going to show up and sweep you off your feet and that you don't have to do any work. So she shares her story of being 40 years old and having expected perfection in every dating partner and having expected a perfect man to just show up out of thin air and realizing, wow, now I've turned down all these great guys and I want a baby and I'm going to do it on my own. So she had a baby and she said, and I'll date after I have the baby. And now she's on a mission to share how hard it's been for her. She said, it doesn't get easier after you have a baby to date and find the right person. It gets harder. And nobody told me this because the feminist movement told me that I can be and do everything and have it all and not worry about a timeline. Now, she's not attacking feminism. I'm not either. I'm pro feminism all the way. But she's just like, there are practical factors to take into consideration. So she talks about dating with strategy and finding out what's really important to you. So, for example, in the past, she would never date a bald guy. And now she's like, okay, is this something I can live with? Yes, I can live with the fact that he's bald,
My
and
husband's bald.
yeah, so Sierra's laughing, right? And so it's just about, again, not settling, but finding what's really important and then making a strategy. And so for me, I talked a little bit this about this in the last episode. My strategy included dating apps. It included reading. It included dating guys that, I might not normally date because the guys I normally dated in the past didn't work out. Okay, so that's book number one.
Yeah, I think that she makes a good point, and I think we talked about this in the last episode, but making a good point of understanding what really is important and is a non-negotiable. Could we deal with a bald guy that is kind and caring and that treats us amazing? Absolutely. But can we deal with a guy with a full head of hair that doesn't? Probably not, So I think I haven't read the book, but I think that makes a really good point of being really clear about what you want, but also what you need and prioritizing the things that are most important within a relationship.
Yes, yes. And I will say I kind of went too far with that book because I ended up dating someone, and he was a wonderful boyfriend. We had a wonderful experience for about 7 months of dating. Back he lived in New York City. We were doing the distance thing. Wonderful guy, treated me so well. Great experience. But I do think I was kind of settling because I wasn't as physically attracted to him. Like I kind of was like convincing myself, oh yeah, like this can work, but there wasn't a spark. And that's not fair. Like you do need a spark. You do. You need to be really romantically attracted. And so I was convincing myself, well, he has all these other things. So be careful with that book because it's easy to go a little extreme, you know? So just remember, it's about opening your mind to potential partners but never settling because you do need attraction in all the areas. So I broke up with this guy, this man, wonderful man, broke up with him in July, and he and I are both doing great, ended on good terms. And then I was like feeling kind of sad and down because, after a breakup, it's just hard. And I had been so excited about him. And two different friends recommended this book to me. And I thought, okay, this is like a message because what are the odds that within 3 weeks, two different friends that I hadn't talked to in years, a guy and a woman, so like different genders, living in different places, they both recommended this really interesting book. Okay. It's called The Rules.
I love the
It's
tabs. I love the
Look at all
tabs.
the tabs. Look at all the tabs. Okay. Time-tested secrets for capturing the heart of Mr. Right. And it's so funny because when my friends recommended this book, they're like, Jenna, you're gonna hate it. Like you're the feminist in you is gonna die. Like you're just gonna be so mad. And they're like, it's from the 90s. So, but seriously, like I've written in this, I've tabbed it. Okay, you gotta filter it through today. So when you read this, remember this is the 90s, so there are some things you're gonna roll your eyes at, and that are just really outdated. But I'm telling you, this changed the game for me because what it helped me see is that I need boundaries, rules in dating, like any other area in my life. There are boundaries in work, there are boundaries in my current relationships, there are boundaries on my time. And I think the main argument of this book, that's by Ellen Fine and Sherry Schneider, I think their point is, ladies, you get excited about a man and then you give him everything immediately. You have sex with him. You
Not
give
to
him
shame.
no, not to shame, but
Not
but
to
they're
shame.
like, yeah, exactly. Exactly. No shame here. But they're like, you give him sex, you give him your heart, and he hasn't done anything to earn it. You give him loving gifts, you make dinner for him, and you treat him like he's already earned enough to win you, and he has not done anything to win you. And so they're all about allowing a man the natural process of winning you over, giving him space to do the work to deserve your trust. And so for someone like me who would give all of my heart in the beginning, like, oh, wow. I love this guy. Like, cause I love people. I'm a giver. They're like, stop giving so much. Stop it now. And there's rules in this book. You're gonna be like, I'm not living these rules. That's fine. I don't care. Just read it because it's about valuing yourself. Do I keep all of these rules? No. But did implementing some of these rules change the game for me? Yes. It means when a love interest texts me, I'm not putting down my work, putting down folding the laundry to immediately respond. I'm not, waiting for the next phone call. I'm not calling him. Like one of the rules is he calls you. I do call sometimes, but he calls you first. He does the work. What do you
Yeah.
think of this, Sierra, as a therapist?
I think boundaries are so healthy. I'm always on the side of healthy boundaries. Um, I think there is a shift. I personally in a relationship where, you once the person has put in that effort, it's not one-sided. You both are in this, it kind of shifts, I think. And maybe just coming from someone that's been married for a little bit, very little bit. I know there are people that have been married way longer than me, but
But you've been
um
married like 8 years, right?
almost 8 years,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just still feel like it's like new, but
Yeah.
but
That's good.
that balance looks different, and I think in a marriage, like I definitely call my
Yes.
husband
Oh, of
more,
course. Of
things like
course. Of
that.
course.
But I still think I do have boundaries when it comes to even my marriage of like, hey babe, like you're not like doing some stuff that like we normally do, or like if we go on a date night and he doesn't open my door, I'll stand at the door. Because like just because that's what I expect and that's
Yeah.
how it's always been, and I'm your date and you're gonna open my door because that's what you do, and that's my boundary, and some people are like, well, I don't care about that. Great, not your boundary. But I think the point from what I'm understanding what you said of this book is to understand your boundaries and not to move them.
Yes.
That
Yes.
if someone wants to be with you, they have to respect these boundaries or they can't be with you in that way. It's not, oh, well, we could be together if you just change these boundaries and okay, let me change them. No, if you don't want to or cannot respect these boundaries and operate with me within the context of these boundaries, then we can't be together. And that's okay. Thank you. Wish you
Yes.
well. Goodbye.
Yes.
And that's
Exactly.
okay. That's totally fine.
Yeah. And the boundaries that you have with someone you're dating or about to go on a date with are very different than the boundaries you have in a marriage, right? And so at least some of them are. And so the point of this book is not saying you can never call your love interest. It's just in the beginning, the argument is, and I know some of you may not agree, and I respect that. And I know when I was reading this, it took me some time to believe this, but the argument is that in a heteronormative dating situation between, a cisgender male, a cisgender female, like there's something biological about the chase. And I feel like the
Oh,
feminists are gonna push back, including myself. I was pushing back. I'm like, no, no, no. Like I'm no, he doesn't need to chase me, but it seems to have worked.
so I don't know when this episode's probably airing after we interview Allison Armstrong, who wrote the Queen's Code. And I think this will make a lot more sense. One, after that interview, we interview her this week, so with production, but this is airing after that. And I think if you've read the Queen's Code, I think that'll make a lot more sense.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think after that episode, this will make a lot of sense. So if you haven't watched that one, it should be out by now. So go back and watch it, read the Queen's Code too. But I think a lot of times our ideas of human nature have changed from what is to what should be. And a lot of times things are just human nature that have been that way for millennia. And even though maybe it should or should not be that way, sometimes it just is. And if this book and books like the Queen Code are just looking at our biological natures of masculinity and femininity and that energy and what that energy tends to produce and working off of that, I think that that's okay. So,
Yeah, yeah. And again, I want to respect different opinions, and also that, like, again, I'm talking, this is very personal, right? Me as a cisgender heterosexual woman, right? Dating a cisgender heterosexual man. Um, and just that I was willing to read a book I thought was crazy because what I'd done in the past with dating did not work. And so, yeah, I totally respect that this may not work for others. But along this line, I want to share this another book with a cringy title, okay, that is also from the 90s. Another book a friend recommended me, which is called Mars and Venus on a Date, a guide for navigating the 5 stages of dating to create a loving and lasting relationship. And that's by John Gray. Again, a book that may seem counterintuitive to how we understand dynamics today in dating, but really helped me because similarly to the rules, it's talking about how some of us are givers, really natural givers. And oftentimes it's women who are giving, giving, giving. And often the argument that he makes is that women who are givers, if we give everything in the beginning, men, his argument is that men are like, this is great. I can sit back and I can just be the receiver. Great. She's going to have dinner on the table every night. She's going to give me a massage. She's going to do all these things. And his argument is for men to fulfill their full potential in not only in dating and relationships, but in life, they need to work. They need to learn to be givers. And so his argument is to step back and watch how men will give when you let them. And that was essential for me as a giver, giver, giver. And now I'm dating a giver. And he and I talk openly about how we are both givers. And I'm learning to receive from him.
Mm.
And John Gray gives an example in the book of different things that'll go through a woman's mind when she's getting a massage from her partner versus a man's mind when he's getting a massage. He said, oftentimes the woman will be like, wait, he's giving me a massage, but he had such a hard day at work and he has all this pressure in his life, so I should be giving him a massage right now. And I could relate to that because sometimes when men have given me massages, I'm like, wait, now I need to give you one. But he's saying, no, relax and enjoy the massage. Enjoy it. Let him give because he likes to give to you. It makes him feel good to give to you. And that's the piece that I never understood is that men tend to feel good when they give. And a lot of times in relationships, they need to know that what they're giving is received and enjoyed by you. And then they start to really thrive. And so he said, when men are getting a massage, they're just be like, oh, this is great. Like I want more of this. And so me starting to understand how to receive has been a game changer in dating. It doesn't mean I don't want to give my boyfriend massages. It just means that, like, I can relax and realize he gets just as much out of giving me a massage as getting one.
Yeah, I love that. Um, again, these books are amazing. We read just so many books about relationships that I think are just so life-changing. And I still am so excited just about Allison. And so I'm thinking about the Queen's Code, about the language of men are providers, and it gives them such a sense of self-worth and value to be able to provide for the people that they love and know that that is making an impact in their lives. And we as women just like sometimes maybe don't realize how important it is for them to provide for us.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're like, no, I can do it myself. I know I probably my first words were, I do it. Like if you ask my mom, my first words were probably like, no, I do it. And I have had to learn. I am married to a giver. I am married to a provider, a wonderful, wonderful provider. And I have had to learn to be a receiver. That has been probably the hardest thing for me to develop as a person is to let people provide for me and to serve me because I feel the need to serve other people so much. And
Yes.
so I think that that is amazing to have that understanding as a woman of like, one, your worth and value is not tied to what you can provide for someone. They will can and still should and would love you if you did not provide those things for them. Your worth and value is inherent and comes from you being a child of your creator. Two, that you are worthy and valuable of receiving every good thing that you give.
Yes.
I think that those things are really important for everyone to know. And also, especially, I think as a woman, I think that that was something for me to know as a woman that I am worthy and valuable of receiving everything I give to other people. And
Yes.
that is kind of a hard pill to swallow sometimes. But when we learn that, we interact with other people and other relationships in a totally different way.
Yeah, I love that, Sierra. And I wanted to share that the man I'm dating right now, he he doesn't know that I've read any of these books, and he hasn't heard Sierra's and my conversations here on the podcast about him. I mean, he can. I think he's just very respectful. And but I share this with you to say that, like, having no context, he said something to me a couple weeks ago that really moved me. He said, Jenna, in this relationship, my commitment to you is to provide, protect, and please you. And I was like floored. I was like, this man, he hasn't read any of these relationship books, he doesn't know, but he came up with these three P's: provide, protect, and please. And I was like, I love this. Like, he wants to do those things. It doesn't mean I'm not independent and strong. It doesn't mean I can't provide and protect and please myself in my life. It just means I have a partner who wants to do those things and add to my life. Now, I want to end by sharing with you three short stories of my dating life that I think are going to illustrate these principles. So, this all happened in the span of 1 year. These are three different dating experiences I had. And two of them I had before I read Mars and Venus on a Date and the Rules. So, two of them I had before I knew to set these boundaries and to look for a giver. Okay, so at the beginning of 2024, I started dating a really nice guy who I told you about, lives in New York City. And we were kind of doing the relationship like we were meeting each other halfway. Like, he came to fly to me, then I would fly to him, that we would kind of take turns. And he would pay for things. I would also pay for things, like dinner and stuff. And, he might open a door for me and I'd open a door for him. It was just a very, like, in my mind as a feminist, very equal kind of relationship, and it felt good. But I remember sometimes, like, I don't know, it just felt good enough. Okay. And I ended up breaking up with him, as I shared, because there wasn't it I just had a clear message it wasn't right, and there also wasn't enough attraction. But I actually wasn't even thinking about that when I broke up with him. But looking back, I'm like, oh, Jenna, like, there's a reason it wasn't right. Okay, so that's one experience. Experience number two: a friend of mine who's old enough to be my father. He is actually a colleague in my chaplain community. He invited me to fly out to another state because he was visiting his son, and his son had an improv comedy show. And he said, come out this weekend, meet my son. I feel like you all would be a great fit. And at first we were kind of like joking, but then it got really serious. And his son was like, yeah, have her come out, because he saw pictures of me. He was interested. So I spend my money, to fly out for the weekend to see the show, meet my friend's son. And I'm like immediately interested. He seems interested in me. I thought he was. I never kiss on the first date, but I did that weekend end up kissing him because I thought I want to see about our chemistry. And and then I left, and I thought he was interested. He was acting interested, but then he like wasn't texting or calling. And I thought we'd had this really beautiful experience of connection. We kissed. I just thought it was like really good. But looking back, I'm like, no, I did all the work. I flew out to him, and I kissed him, and I because I thought he was interested, but I had no evidence that he was actually interested. I mean, for all I know, he was just having a good time. And then I started reading these books that were like, no, you don't fly out to him in the beginning. No, he comes to you. Like, you don't just act like he's immediately interested until you have evidence. And it's silly, but I almost felt like crushed. I felt like sort of heartbroken because I really liked this guy, and we had these three magical days together. And I was like, oh, I think he's the one. And wow, no. Oh, and he was in a car accident, and I like sent him things. I like like sent him like bombs, like for aches and pains, and he's fine. It was like a small fender bender, but I was like doing all these things and sent him a card, and I'm so embarrassed now because he was not into me. He didn't progress the relationship. Okay, that's experience number two. Experience number three, Sierra gives the guy my number. He texts me. He pursues me. He drives to see me. Like, and he does it again and again and again. And so, an easy way to filter out interest is to see if your partner is willing to do the work it takes in dating to make you feel good. And so watch for that. Like watch for a partner or a potential partner going above and beyond. Because I'm telling you, if they don't go above and beyond in dating, they will not in marriage. They will not. So you need evidence from day one that this person is going to work because they are really, really into you.
Yes, I love that. I always say marry the person that you're dating.
Yeah.
Marry the person that you're dating because if you marry this person with the hopes of their potential of who they could be, you're probably not going to get it. There are exceptions.
Yeah.
Um, but if you right now are dating someone thinking about marriage, if the person that you're with right now is the person that you could be with forever, then that's your person. But if you're like, well, I could be with him if he did this, this, or this, or I could be with her if she changed this, this, or that, maybe that's not your person right now. Let them change that first and marry them as the person that you want them to be.
Yes. Yes. And if you're a giver, make sure you find another giver. We are so grateful that you tuned in today, and we invite you to check out one of those books if it resonated with you, or maybe another dating book. Just take one step today, and please like, subscribe, and share this information with your friends. We look forward to seeing you next time. I'm Jenna Carson,
I'm Sierra Larson.
and we hope you follow the peace.